So have you had that like where somebody in the pipeline, like in the process, is like either quite weak in regards to what they're doing, and there has to be more hand holding, or like more have you had to like pick, like do more work because of it?
Yes. Yeah, I have a project that, I remember working with the artist, and the artist was very good, but her understanding of the vision wasn't really sinking in, right? Like we were very much of like, here's the tone, here's all this information. And she was coming back with something that just didn't fit the tone we were looking for. So then it
Mhm.
was like, how do I re-explain this? Find new references, because it was coming back very like sweet and cute when it was supposed to be like fast beat comedy. And it just didn't have the
Right.
right feel and energy for what it needed to be. So it was additional back and forth, additional references, finding more ways to try and explain it. We got there and it's great and it looked amazing. But it's sometimes trying to figure out, it's like, okay, am I not explaining it or are you not absorbing it? And or is it a combination of the two? And usually it's a combination. Usually it's a little bit of, something was lost in how it was put down, and then something else was lost in how it was picked up. Um, and this was somebody that you couldn't have a conversation with, right? It wasn't somebody I could pick up a phone and talk to. It
Mhm.
had to be written, which adds another layer of complexity. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's always interesting if you're working with people that are different culture, right?
mhm.
Different speak a different language, right?
Yeah, different
Uh,
time zones, like completely like opposite, like it wasn't feasible to have a conversation. And I find that hard because I find that in many cases, if those emails back and forth or the brief isn't getting through, that quick phone call can answer so many questions, right? It can be like,
yeah.
in 10 minutes, if we chat and you tell me what you're taking out of it, I tell you what I meant. And suddenly it's like, oh, now we both are on the same page and problem solved. But that isn't always possible. And when it's not, you can lose a lot of time to cross wires and miscommunications.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just, that's part of it, right? There's just sometimes there's
Absolutely.
nothing that you could have done to foresee, like the problem that would have happened. Even if you're like, I know how to
Hmm.
deal with this kind of stuff, but if the person you're dealing with is just they're just they think very differently than you can't, you
Yeah.
know, how do you communicate that to somebody that or communicate with somebody that doesn't quite see things the way you do? And it is hard. It always takes time.
It does. It does. Cause part of it too is I'm a big like proponent, as we should all be, of like being make sure that I'm calm and courteous and respectful. Right. So not firing back, being like, what were you thinking? Did you not get it? This is what I said in caps, right? Like I want to craft something that like is very much like, thank you for your effort. This, I can see where you went and it looks really good. Now here is my feedback to hopefully better understand, like all that kind of stuff. And that takes time. It takes a lot more time than just putting back, being like, you missed the mark. Here's what you needed to do. Um, and I find that, because part of it too is a lot of artists, not every artist, but a lot of artists do, they're attached to their work. They take it personally. They have feelings about what they've created. And the last thing you want to do is have an artist that now is either defensive or hurt or
Mhm.
angry because they feel like you're telling them that they're not good at what they do. And that's not the case. It's just what you did was great. It just wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it's like conveying that in a way that does not make the artist feel that they're unappreciated or not good at what they do, but lets them understand that there needs to be changes before we can move forward.
Yeah. 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 It's all part of the process of being part of a team, and you just have to,
Hmm.
you kind of almost have to go through your lumps to get past that kind of stuff, just because there's really nothing, unfortunately, there's not a lot that you can do to avoid some of these things. It's going to happen,
Yep.
and you just have to make sure that you know how to deal with it in a way that doesn't make it worse, right?
Yes.
That's why, like, if you can remove yourself from like your whole like ego from the whole
Yeah.
thing, which is not easy. But you know, like if you're like, sure, whatever you like, I listen. I mean, even years of me doing this, whenever I have like one of my collaborators, you know, on a project, go, hey man, like this is not exactly what I wanted, and it's not necessarily that. It could just be that there was a miscommunication, or it could be like I didn't. They see it and it's not quite what they asked for, and I do give them liberties to like change
Hmm.
things, you know, minor things at certain stages. And so I'm always thinking, you know, this is the greatest thing ever, like you're gonna love it. And then they're like, well, there's certain things I would like you to change, and then you're like, really?
Yeah.
Okay, you know.
And that's something, no matter what part of the creative process you've been in, everybody has had their balloon popped, right?
Yeah,
Where it's like you go in and you're so excited to present something and you show it to them and you're like, this is amazing. I'm so proud. I think this is going to be great. And they're like, what else you got? Or, okay, I get where you went, but in my mind, I pictured that it was a sunset, not a sunrise. And now you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it is tough to kind of separate yourself from your work sometimes and be fully like, it's creative. Everybody has an opinion on it, and they're not always the same. And there's really no right or wrong, which also is tricky. And sometimes it just doesn't work for that person, even though it could have been the greatest thing ever. And you can be super proud of it. It just doesn't make it over the finish line. And that can be hard. That can hurt.
yeah, yeah. Especially, or I think we talked about this prior to sometimes um, the person whose vision it is that
Mm.
you're helping create the thing, when they finally see it, they're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted. And you're
Now
just
that
like,
I see it, that's always my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah. And you're just like, well, I mean, you did pay for me to make
Mhm.
changes. So, you know, I have to,
Oh, give me my new brief. Yeah.
so
Yeah, and that's always tough when you work with people who either aren't creative at all and have a really hard time kind of getting out what they are looking for, or that are really creative because sometimes they also have a hard time getting out what they're looking for because it's so deep in their head. And then you get that, I'll know it when I see it, which is always a fun one. Or, I know what I don't want, which in some ways it's very helpful. Sometimes just knowing what they don't want helps you to at least eliminate possibilities.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's you just like you said, you have to get your balloon popped. You have to go through it. There's just no
Hmm.
a way around some of these different kinds of trials you go through. Uh, you
Yeah.
you you have to learn the language and then hope that um, you don't repeat that mistake, you know, over and over again, right? You kind of learn it the first time, and then you're like, okay, great, I will not do that again. I will
Yeah.
be very, you know, clear next time, and you know, regards to whatever. But I mean, I hear it's one of the things that kind of drives me a little. I mean, we're now kind of deviating a little bit, but one of the things that drives me nuts about um, artists who I see that they're like their process is not very solid when it comes to setting up expectation, and so
Mm-hmm.
um, I like, for example, like, you know, like they'll say, I just had this like horrible client that asked me to do this again and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just going, yeah, but did you communicate and set up expectation early on that you weren't going to do this? And you always kind of get a sense, or they kind of admit that they didn't have they didn't create like a contract or something. And
Yeah.
I just go, well, that's kind of on you. Like, I know you want sympathy from fellow artists, but you kind of you are the reason why sometimes clients are more difficult to deal with, because
Yeah.
they now have experience in art. They paid an artist up front, and the artist hasn't communicated things properly to them, and then all of a sudden the client's like, that was not, I wanted it differently, you have to redo it, and all this kind of stuff. And so it's one of those things where, like, um I do understand why some people are like reticent to give their money to somebody
Yeah.
that they're like, you told me you were gonna, that this was gonna happen and it didn't. And um like, I don't want to go through that again. And so, now I'm changing, like, my trust, and I'm going to not pay somebody up front anymore because, right. So it's like, well, you
100%.
still kind of need to do it, but I understand why you're having, you don't want to.
Well, and that's, I think, such a big thing too, is when you're kind of starting out, you you feel that everybody is in it with the same good intentions you are, and you hope everybody is, but you're more willing to be like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'll deliver it before you send final payment," or, "Oh, I'll make an extra 2 or 3 rounds of revisions. I get it." And then after a while, you start to learn that you can't keep doing that, right? You have to have terms. You have to stick to your terms. You have to be clear with what they're getting, what they're not getting, what is and isn't acceptable, what happens if you can't agree on something, how overages will work, etc. Otherwise, you do end up in a place where you ruin it for yourself as well as other people, because now it's like, well, the last artist I worked with had no problem doing this and this. And you're like, oh, who was that? Like, great. Now I'm stuck in this boat because people are agreeing to kind of ridiculous terms. So,
Yeah. Yep. It's always um it's a weird kind of thing to
mhm.
deal with, like, like when you're either the first person that person's dealing with, and you're like, well, I know what I'm doing. You're going to have a great time when you work with me. And they're going, yeah, but you're charging way more than I expected to
Yeah.
pay for this thing. And I'm going, yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because I come with a
Yeah.
certain level of experience that you pay for. And then they go to the next person, and that person doesn't communicate anything to them, and they don't hear from them for months. And all of a sudden the thing they come, finally arrive with is like not what they envisioned. And now they've spent less money on, but they've wasted it in some way. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
like there's always that kind of, that's always another part of the conundrum of, like, teaching people, you know, to appreciate the value of what you do, and trying to get it right so that you're, um, like, you value what you value your worth and charge appropriately, and also communicate really well, and all
Yeah.
the things that need to be done to make that person's experience really good, so that the next artist, if they don't hire you again because you're busy, the next person they deal with is just as amazing as you are, right? That's always the hope.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I think like starting out, one of the things that really stuck with me was when someone's like, when you're pricing something, quoting something, you go cheap, fast, good, pick two, right? If it's cheap
Yeah.
and good, it's not going to be fast. If it's good and fast, it's not going to be cheap. And, so, and I think that was such an important thing to be like, you can't be all three, right? Like, that's just not realistic. And you kind of work yourself accordingly, depending on the client, where they're like, you know, I have no budget and I need it quickly, to be like, well, it's not going to be great, but I'll get you something, because I can't do cheap, fast, and good. I can't do them all. But if, cheap and fast is your goal, then you get what you get. And I think that really helps to kind of put your mindset into it as well. So you really can think about what you're quoting, how you're framing it to the client, so that they can kind of understand what they're actually getting based on what they're willing to pay you and how long they're willing to wait for it.
Yeah. Yep. It's, again, these are all things you learn, and you just kind of have to, um, go through some of that, pain. to-
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're sharing it. We're sharing our previous pain to hopefully prevent you future pain. If you're listening, take this advice.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
This is
Oh,
looking really good, by the way. I'm looking at all the colors here, and wow, it really brings it to life.
yeah. So this is, I mean, I'm just making it, this is, I would say the quick and dirty kind of, way of, um, doing a lot of this stuff. I'm using like adjustment layers here to, um, get some of the, colors a little bit more vibrant or to work a little bit closer to the way I want it to work. But, I mean, obviously because of constraints of time, it looks a little messy and, uh, you're, uh, you having to kind of like, I guess, use your imagination to fill in some of this stuff too, right? So, um, yeah. So, but you get a general sense of I'm trying to like create like a sense of mood. I'm trying to create
Hmm.
like, like the color scheme. I'm trying to get like, some shadows and some value. Like, the blue is kind of the shadow in this, right? And so you got that kind of because the sun is like hitting at this angle, so that you've got um it's not I'd say the shadows are probably somewhat long because of the angle that the characters are being hit at, right? Um and then their native color, the greens,
Hmm.
the right. So um I would probably, yeah, I mean, if I were to keep on working on this, I would for sure, yeah, um,
No, it's really great though. It really brings it to life, sets the place. It does feel like it is, in this Western town outside. The characters show up. You can see their little expressions. Um, I think it's coming together really nicely. It's come a long way in an hour.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, like as I said, I would probably, um, I would work on it a little bit more in regards to like um, uh, making sure that the forms were coming across correctly and being a little bit more specific in regards to like the bounce lights
Mm,
and the rim lights and all that kind of, like right here you have the light, the sun, so you'd have some of that light from the sun shining, like giving them a bit of like a rim light,
mhm.
right? Edge of the edge of their body, right? Um, so uh,
No, it's great though. It's a fun little one-page story. That I mean, all those episodes ago where we decided to have this kind of something's going on in the Wild West. I feel like this page delivers on that premise in a really unique way, and I still love the tailbite. I feel like for me, that's like it's just such a fun little kind of end to this story. That makes it more than just the typical like two guys posturing who's gonna win. It's like nope, little guy's got it, and Leonard just ends it. Takes matters into his own mouth.
yep. So this is that. Um,
I like that.
yeah, yeah.
Just
Like
for a little red
again,
tail.
I tried to tie it all together with the color,
Yeah.
with this yellow here, right? So,
Mhm.
and if I were to change that, it would kind of change the mood of things a little bit,
Oh, wow, yeah.
right? So now I can get to a dark, right? That then it all of a sudden becomes like a moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really changes the feel just by that color, like, the hue and the temperature changing. It changes the whole vibe of the piece.
Yep, for sure. And that's just it. Color can totally change the vibe of something really quickly. So